Hey guys, what's going on? JK, and welcome back for round number 6 of the F124 driver career mode. Today we're going to be racing in Spain, which previously has been a really poor track for me in previous games where I've had not very good race pace or quali pace. So today we're going to find out what we can do. But last time out in Canada, was it Canada? I'm pretty sure it was Canada. We had a really good race-long chase. We went on an alternate strategy along with the McLarens. We had a race-long chase after we boxed to catch Fernando Alonso in order to get P7, which helps us in the Constructors stay ahead of Aston Martin, which is our target for this season, is to try and fight the Aston Martins at every track and potentially finish ahead of them, if not at least near them and be their nearest challengers, because that's what we want. We want to be up there, just outside the big boys. We want to be the next best of the rest team. And to help us with that, these perks will be incredible in helping us actually get upgrades on, because a lot of them are failure reduction stuff and things like that, which will be very helpful considering every upgrade we're putting on right now is failing when it comes around to the first time of asking, because it is glitched. Another thing that will help us is R&D points, which we can get through practice, which we managed to do. We managed to complete all the practice programs, gain ourselves a little bit of experience, and last episode we managed to beat the 70 rating we set for ourselves at the start of the season after 5 races, which may or may not have been helped by racing on lower AI than I should have been, and yeah. But today we are going to be on 101 AI for a track that I don't like. So this will be a real test of the pace and how good we actually are on this game. But as you can see, still technically behind Visa Cash App, and the Halo is the next upgrade we want to make, because once we can get that on, that'll be a major upgrade. I'm eating Haribo's, by the way. Just, that's why. But yeah, qualifying is going to be wet, which is not ideal, but it also looks like it's going to be inters and then wets at some point before dropping back down to inter conditions. So it's going to be a rough one, because we aren't great in wet conditions, but inters were normally okay. So let's see how we can do on a track that we've never driven in the wet before on any F1 game, on a brand new game as well. And obviously, because it's inters conditions, what we're going to do is we're going to do multiple runs, fuel ourselves up for 3 or 4 laps, and just see if we can improve throughout all the laps. I also have a frozen bottle of juice, which is melting by the second, which is also a very smart strategy for anyone who needs a cold drink throughout the day. Get a bottle of drink, put it in the freezer, bosh, there you go. But yeah, as I was saying, up to the line we are about to come. It's a bit of a scruffy lap, obviously being the first lap out on this track, and also being wet as well. It's going to end up putting us actually 7th, so ahead of like Joe and Sargent, but they're not very good. But we're currently 8 tenths up on this second lap, gaining more time through the second half of the middle sector. We take that quite nicely, gaining now 9.5 tenths, which is a very solid amount of time to gain. Heading into the final sector now, a second up on our previous best.
At least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert.
A little bit of a snap there. But we're going to wrestle the car around this long right-hander, having to fight snaps of oversteer. It's going to cost us around 2 tenths through those 2 corners there, which means there is a little bit of time on the table in this lap, and we're going to come around the final corner, gain time out of that final corner, and end up gaining 1 second and 1 tenth to put us P6 just behind Charles Leclerc. And then on this final run on the inters, we gained quite a bit of time through that S section where we lost a load of time before, even more time there. And then through the final corner though, we have another snap, and it was just out of control throughout that whole last sector, and it just ended up being a minimal time gain, which ends up with us finishing P12 in the session on just that 1 set of tyres, doing a few laps. But for Q2, we start off with wet tyres, but it feels like it's grippy enough for inters. All the AI set a time on wet tyres. We are going to have 1 shot at the end of the session, maybe even 2, on a set of inters to try and get ourselves out and into Q3. However, on a track which is only just crossed over to inters and may even still be wet, it's going to be a rough one, that's for sure.
Okay, that's all the checks complete. We're ready to go.
So let's see what we can do. I think I'd be happy with anywhere 10th, 12th, around there. Even if I get knocked out, but I get 12th, I think I wouldn't be too upset with that, because it means there's still a good chance of getting points in the race. So here we go. First lap, as you can see, there were cars on the wets. But obviously this is only our first lap, and the track conditions, they're gonna keep getting better and better and better. So for me being the last car around to start a lap, this could be very beneficial. We set a purple middle sector, obviously, because we are the first car completing a lap on Inters, but then we are also going to be the last car to complete a lap on Inters, which is the good thing, which means we're in an optimal position to gain as much time as possible. But it's been an okay lap. It's been just a little bit ungrippy because of the fact it's still borderline wet conditions. Wet tyres would do well on this track right now, and we end up going second behind Verstappen by half a tenth, who was on bloody wet. But now we're 6 tenths up coming into this middle sector. We take that nicely, but we lose a little bit of time. I think maybe lifted off a bit more than we did on the initial lap. A 22.0 has just been set, which means we need to be gaining 1.5 seconds, but we take that poorly. We go from having 6 tenths gained to only 2.5. And through this final sector, it just keeps getting worse and worse as we lose all of the time that we gained throughout the lap in the final sector. It would have been 6 tenths and potentially maybe even 8 tenths. And in the end, that's going to mean that we are knocked out of Q2 in P15. And with those 6 tenths, maybe 8, we might have maybe been able to... No, we wouldn't have got through, but we would have been able to be around Nico Hülkenberg. So in the end, only a slight pace gain, but obviously we got our Q1, so we're still going to gain a little bit of pace.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. Edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Gasly, Iceman, Sargent, Bottas, Joe, Ricciardo, and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. And now it's time...
So yeah, for us, P15, and for Hülkenberg, P12. But we are going to be starting today on the medium tyre, switching onto the hard. The basic strategy, a lot of the guys around us are actually starting on softs and then switching onto mediums, which means that we are at a disadvantage, but our tyre wears is not good enough to be able to compete with that sort of strategy or do that sort of strategy comfortably. So we're going to have to do a weird strategy. 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix, and there's lights out, and away we go. As always, with all the cars on softs around us, we're going to get a poor start. We're dropping down to P16, almost 17 or 18 there. But we've got a big gap on this left-hand side. We're going to send it round the outside of Tsunoda. What a brilliant move that is, as we managed to sneak ourselves up the inside into P11. We're fighting now our teammate Nico Hülkenberg. We're going to let him through for now because he is our teammate. We cannot be fighting Nico Hülkenberg. But at the same time, I feel an opportunity to make up more position, so we're going to send it down the inside on Nico. We're going to squeeze him out, and now we've got a potential opportunity to overtake Lance Stroll, if possible. But that is not going to be the case, as on to lap 2, we are still here with Lance Stroll, with Tsunoda behind us, who's overtaken our teammate Nico Hülkenberg, despite being on medium compound tyres. But we are sticking with Lance Stroll, which means we are going to get the DRS from Lance, which means that there is a good chance of points in this race. These are the 5 best teams ahead of us. Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull and McLaren. And then you've got myself, just outside the points where we belong. We're going to be battling, hopefully, with Lance Stroll for that point. Maybe even Fernando Alonso as well. So let's see what we can do. On to lap 4. We are almost dropping out of DRS range of Lance Stroll, which would leave us very vulnerable to Yuki Tsunoda in the Alpha Tauri, or the Visa Cash App. But with a bit of good driving in the final sector, we are somehow going to sneak DRS off Lance Stroll. Don't know how we've managed that, but we've also managed to slightly pull away from Tsunoda as well. And by the time we get to lap 5, we are now 1.5 seconds clear of Yuki Tsunoda. We are still in the DRS range of Lance Stroll, setting now personal best lap times and personal best sectors, just to try stick with the fastest cars on the grid. And as their softs fall off, our mediums get even better and better, so it makes it easier and easier for us to stay with these cars now that the transitional phases have begun. And we are right behind Lance Stroll now, onto lap 8, just kind of chilling behind him. Like, even our tyre wear's a little bit poor. Imagine if we were on softs right now, we would have already had to box, and we would have been in such a bad situation. So I don't know how Hülkenberg's going to survive, but it is what it is. P11, still Lance Stroll ahead of us, 5 seconds clear of Tsunoda and Ocon. And eventually, That's going to end up with on lap number... Oh, we haven't switched clip yet. My bad. By the time we get to lap 11, my teammate has boxed for... Well, my teammate will go ahead and box for an undercut on this lap, which will be quite beneficial for him as Lance Stroll locks up, allows us to slip through into P10, but it means that we are going to be completely off-put by that, and we're going to maybe even lose DRS to Alonso here, and we do. With that snap of oversteer there, we lose DRS to Alonso, and by the time we come in, we gained 2 seconds to Stroll, but we're going to box now for a set of hard compound tyres, whilst everyone else is boxing onto mediums, which means we are going to have a tyre deficit to the other cars around us. It's going to take our tyres longer to warm up, maybe be a big hindrance to us in this Grand Prix, but we just wouldn't have made it on softs, and we wouldn't have made it to the softs phase on those mediums without having really poor pace. And especially once I'd lost DRS, it was a case of I'm going to have to box. And we come out only just behind Alonso, and by the time everyone else pits, obviously Hulkenberg's behind us, he's gained 5 seconds on his undercut because of everyone else battling. So I'm going to come out here just behind the fast runners. Obviously not all of them have boxed just yet, but Nico Hulkenberg is behind Lance Stroll. Stroll is 2.5 seconds behind me. So let's see what can happen in the rest of this race. But a few laps later, Lance Stroll is now within my DRS range on those better tyres in a faster car. Hulkenberg's still 6 seconds back. Hulkenberg's still in a little bit of a world of his own. So are myself and Lance, as now here comes Lance Stroll. Is he going to try go for a move into turn 1? No, but he's now here to stay for the rest of this Grand Prix. As on to lap 20 we go. Lance Stroll is very, very close to us. Is he going to potentially make a move? We're going to deploy a bit of ERS. Lance Stroll looking for this 1-point position. He's going to go down the inside, but we're going to brake later, squeeze him, make sure he can't make that move down the inside. He's going to have to back out in order to avoid contact. On to lap 21 now. Here he comes again, Lance Stroll, now looking around the outside, and he's going to get the move done, and we're going to let him go through, because it's not smart to be battling the position that hard, especially when I think we can stick with him and potentially re-overtake him, which is exactly what we're going to try to do. On to lap 22, the end of that lap, on to the next lap. We are right behind Lance Stroll. We have got 76% ERS. Hulkenberg now 7 seconds back. Tsunoda 12 seconds back. Here we come on Lance Stroll. We're going to send it down the inside. Stroll tries to defend a little bit, makes a bit of a late move, but we're going to send it anyway, just about avoiding contact and getting ourselves back up into the points. Very nice move there on Lance Stroll. And now, here he is again. Lance Stroll is the man behind us. Is he going to go for a move on this back straight? We've now got almost full ERS battery. He's really, really close to us. He should overtake us on this straight, but we have managed to save up 100% battery charge to potentially defend with. All we need is a good final sector, and we might be able to stick ahead of Lance Stroll on this occasion. Here we come through the final sector. Is it going to be good enough? Where he's only 2 tenths back, that'll be enough for him to overtake us. We take the final corner nicely with the extra downforce, but he's only 4 tenths back. I don't think it's going to be enough to hold him back. We're going to deploy ERS down the straight until it becomes futile. He's going for the move, but we might be able to defend him. We defend the inside aggressively, come back to the racing line, and he has to back out once again, not feeling aggressive enough to make the move. He feels as if he's got the pure pace to overtake me. He's really close to me now in this middle sector on this back straight. We're going to let him by in order to get DRS on the main straight. We don't fight that too hard. Maybe Lance Stroll now kind of knows that that was the game we were trying to play, as here we are again. He's charging a bit of ERS there, as you might have seen a second ago with the flashing red light. That's what that means. He's charging again for this back straight, but we have 94% ERS and we are right up his chuff, for a lack of a better phrase. Here we come on Lance Stroll. We're not coming on Lance Stroll, but we have a lot of ERS, we have the DRS, and we have the slipstream. 7 seconds back from the rest of the point scorers, and 8 seconds clear of my teammate. Means that we are the only drivers in the battle for the rest of this race. And it means that it's just going to be a lonely little existence of me and Lance Stroll running around together, as Hulkenberg keeps dropping back into the clutches of Tsunoda now. The hard tyres, the quicker tyres, but Stroll's got DRS and slipstream, so we can't drop him. It's not possible. Setting green sector 1 there on that lap, but Lance Stroll is right behind me here on lap 25, about to come on to lap 26. Will he have another opportunity to overtake us? The most important thing, though, is that by the end of this Grand Prix, we are the man who takes that point and 10th place. But let's see what Lance Stroll can do. Can he maybe overtake me and pull away? We have a poor exit there, and we cut that curb a little bit too much, so it might be a case of Lance Stroll flying past. We only have 6% ERS, and by the time it becomes a futile defence, we turn the ERS off to save it again. Lance Stroll charging and still overtakes us. But now we are closing in on Lance Stroll again, ready for another main straight overtake potentially, as we are now a little bit far back on Lance Stroll, but we do have 80% ERS as Alexander Albon is out of the Grand Prix with a mechanical failure. But here we come. We are now 7 tenths behind Lance Stroll. Can we maybe close that in on the final corner? Maybe can we get a rocket ship exit? We can. We gain into 6.5 tenths, now 6 tenths, coming down this back straight. DRS, ERS and slipstream. I want to be ahead of Lance Stroll. I don't want to sit behind him for too long every lap. The engine tends to get too much. He goes to defend the inside. We sneak around the outside, just about staying on the track, side by side there through the first corner. But we get the move done. And we are up back again into P10. On now to lap 29. A lap of no attack from Lance Stroll. But here we go again. He's only 5 tenths behind us now. He's way too close. We only have 70% ERS. I mean, that's still a lot of ERS, but we're not willing to use it all. We let him go by, and we're going to look to re-overtake once again. The strategy that has helped us carry on with Stroll throughout this whole race. Here we go again, round the outside of Lance Stroll. He's going to maybe stick his nose in on the inside. We leave him a little bit of room, but he doesn't opt to take it, and he decides to back out of the move and keep himself in the Grand Prix with only 3 laps to go. Talking about 3 laps to go now, I want to be overtaking Lance Stroll on the main lap. On the main straight, going on to lap 33, because then will be no other chance for an overtake for Stroll. So we got to let him pass now. We've got to re-overtake him on the final straight as we come on to the next lap, which is exactly what we're setting ourselves up to do here. 90% ERS. We are right behind Lance Stroll. As we go on to the final lap, we're going to try and make the move. It'll be impossible for him to re-overtake us unless he gets a rocket ship exit on the fast right-hander in the middle sector onto the other DRS straight. But I don't think he will be able to. He's not been able to all race, other than the 1 or 2 occasions we've let him by for DRS purposes. But here we are. We're right behind Lance Stroll. This should be an easy move, but he might be deploying because it's the final laps of the race, and I think he might be. But we go flying around the outside of Lance Stroll. There's nothing he can do, and we are cleanly up into the points positions again. And as I said, he's not been deploying all race, but he is now because he's really close to us, coming out of that exit. But it is the final lap now, and he's not decided to make a move, which means that provided I don't spin a bottle on the final sector, Max Verstappen wins another race in a row. I think that's 6 in a row now for Verstappen. But here we come, round the final few corners, going to deploy up to the line. Oh, it's a really good race, and it's a really good battle with Stroll for a point. It may not seem like a lot, but that was an intense race to drive, and it was a lot of fun for me in the cockpit.
Take care of the car on the way in.
So yeah, lads, Verstappen wins again. Hulkenberg ends up finishing in P13. He got overtaken by Ocon in the end, but Hulkenberg, his pace kind of fell off a little bit, but in the end it wasn't an awful race. Alpine showing that maybe now they're coming back towards the fray, but we get 1 point for the Drivers' Championship, which means that we are now 4 behind Sergio Perez, which I didn't even know we were anyway. We were that close to him anyway. But I think we were actually ahead. But Piastri and Russell are still behind us, and importantly, in the Constructors, we are 2 points now behind Aston Martin. Aston Martin have re-overtaken us, but that is the battle we want to be in. And because, as I mentioned, Perez is our closest driver in the championship, we now have a rivalry with a Red Bull driver, which is ridiculous. I'm never going to win that. But luckily, we get a load of points for our ratings, which ends up improving all of our stats besides experience. And it has been a very successful race, I would say. And we have now also unlocked level 1 on the manufacturing expert, which means that we are going to now have 10% less chance of failure, which means that maybe not everything will fail. But looking at the season results, Verstappen has won every single race so far with 3 out of 6 fastest laps. 2 of the ones that were taken away from him were done by me in Imola, when I had a stinker in Canada. But so far this season, we've had a very good results. 3rd, 5th, 8th, and then that poor Imola race, 7th and 10th. So yeah, next track up is Austria, historically one of my favourite tracks. And for that race, because we took extra components once we qualified at the back at Imola, we are going to be taking new grid components with no grid penalties for the Austrian Grand Prix to hopefully be as quick as possible around my favourite track and maybe get a legitimate win on 101 AI. Can't wait for that.